Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to call to order the October 12th, 2023 meeting of the Newberg Planning Commission and get a roll call, please.
Jeff Musil.
Here.
Jason Dale.
Here.
Lainey Quinn.
Here.
Sharon Capri.
Here.
Mike Griffiths.
Here.
Linda Newton-Curtis.
Here.
Avery Hansen.
Here.
Chris Wright. She's on Zoom.
Okay, thank you very much. And at this time, I'd like to ask if there's anyone wanting to make public comments for items not on the agenda. So nothing we're scheduled to talk about tonight. And if there is anyone, I don't see anybody, so let's move on. And we're going to have what are called quasi-judicial public hearings. And the first one, we'll go ahead and open for CUP 230013 for vacation rental at 1025 East Ginger Root Court. And I'll go ahead and ask for abstentions, ex parte conflict, or conflicts of interest or objections to jurisdiction. Okay. Hey, hearing none of that. Avery, you want to go ahead with the language?
Okay. ORS 197.797 requires certain statements be made at the commencement of a public hearing. The applicable city and state zoning criteria must be listed. This means that we must advise you of the standards that must be satisfied by the applicant prior to our approval or denial of an application. The planning staff will list the applicable criteria during his or her presentation of the staff report. Persons wishing to participate in this hearing must direct their testimony or the evidence towards the criteria stated by the planner or other specific city or state criteria which you believe apply. You must tell us why the testimony or evidence relates to the criteria. Any issue which might be raised in an appeal of this case to the Land Use Board of Appeals, LUBA, must be raised in person or by letter at the local level prior to the city approving or denying the application. The law states that the issue must be raised in enough detail to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond. This part of the law is known as the raise it or waive it requirement. If you do not bring it up now, you can't bring it up at LUBA. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval in enough detail to allow the local government of its designee to respond to the issues precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Prior to the conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing on an application, any participant might request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony regarding the application. The Planning Commission will grant such a request through a continuance or extension of the record.
Thank you. So we'll move on over to staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name is Jeremiah Cromie, Associate Planner, and I'm going to read the staff report into the record. This vacation rental is for 1025 East Ginger Root Court. So this vacation rental was applied by Mark and Lisa Wald for a vacation rental at 1025 East Ginger Root Court, tax lot number R3220CC 06300 with a zoning district of R2 with the riverfront district overlay. The applicable criteria for vacation rentals and conditional use permit is in 15.225.060 and 15.445.300 through 15.445.350 in the municipal code. This location off Ginger Root Court is off River Street, south of Bypass, with the district of R2 and overlay district. And map there, the zoning districts. All utilities are served to the house, including water, sewer, and storm. So the criteria for a conditional use permit and 15.225.060A, location, size, design, and operating characteristics are reasonable, compatible with the surrounding neighborhood, and have minimal impacts on livability or appropriate development of the abutting properties. This is located in an existing single-family home that is constructed with 3 bedrooms. There's 2 off-street parking spaces, including 1 located in the garage and then 1 in the driveway. It's compatible with other residential uses, similar size and scope to regular rented or owned dwellings. B of the same section for conditional use is location, design, and site planning of the proposed development, provided convenient and functional living, working, shopping, or civic environment will be as attractive as nature of the use and its location setting warrants. The location of this house is approximately 0.72 miles north, or excuse me, the downtown central business district is 0.72 miles north of the subject property, and the proposed use is similar in size and shape to long-term rentals or owner-occupied dwellings. 15225-060C of the conditional use criteria is that it would be consistent with the code, is compatible with other residential uses, similar in size and shape to regular rented or owned dwellings, and it meets the criteria including sections 15225-060 and 15445. Vacation rental standards in the municipal code, starting with 15445-310, it is a single family home in R2 district, which is allowed. It will not need to be registered with the city and pay required transient lodging tax, and the applicant has acknowledged that. Standards of a minimum 2 off-street parking spaces, which are provided in the garage and the driveway, and then it has a maximum occupancy of 6 guests, 2 per bedroom. And then weekly waste collection will be provided by Waste Management on Tuesday, and they will not have RVs, tents, or other temporary shelters. And they will be required under 15445-340 to have owner and rental management company, the police, vacation rental standards, occupancy, and a garbage pickup next to the front door. Staff recommends the commission move to adopt Planning Commission Order 2023-21 with conditions approving conditional use permit CUP 23-0013 for a vacation rental home at 1025 East Ginger Root Court, the Antioch County Tax Lot R3220CC 06300. And that's the end of staff's presentation.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to public testimony. And if you do come up to testify, just please come up and state your name for the record. The little button in the middle of the microphone, just push it until red. The applicant will have 15 minutes to speak, and then if there's any other persons, they'll be given 5 minutes each, after which the applicant can have a rebuttal. So at this time, I'd like to invite the applicant up. Are they in the room?
Mr. Chair, the applicant is online.
Online? Okay. If you want to go ahead and bring him in.
I have tried and they just popped over.
No, we don't really have any public comment to make. Sorry, we were having some audio issues here.
Say again, I didn't quite catch everything. Yeah.
Yeah, we have no comments. We're just here listening. But
Okay.
wanted to
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And for this application, I don't see anyone testifying against. So anyone have any questions for the applicant?
I would like to know if you own and reside at the property.
Well, we own the property and we reside there approximately half the time, and the other half the time we reside in California. So it would not be used more than, you know, a third to half the time as a short-term rental.
I'm sorry, we can't hear you. Could you just wait a second? Maybe we'll fix that.
On the outside, or
I don't know. Can you hear us now?
We can hear you. It's just a little light. Could you just do us a favor and speak up just a little bit so we could hear that reply?
Yeah, we reside there part-time. 50%.
Part-time 50%. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, where do you live the other 50%?
We're residents of California. Is our other location.
Try not
Our
to hold that again.
our son currently goes to college at George Fox and has been living there in the home, and he graduates in December.
Oh, congratulations. They said their son, Mr. George Foxon, is graduating soon.
And he's a current resident of the home. He lives there just himself, so.
Sharon Capri, just to clarify what they're saying is that their son lives there currently and is a resident or student at George Fox and will be graduating in December. So he is the permanent resident there at the moment. Thank you for that.
Sure.
No problem. Thank you.
Any other questions from anyone? None? Okay, we have a motion.
Mr. Chair, I believe we have to close the public hearing and get a
You were correct.
staff
You were
report.
correct. My apologies. Yeah, where no one was testifying. I was getting ahead of myself there a bit. So at this time, I go ahead and close the public testimony portion and ask for staff for final recommendation.
Staff would support the same recommendation before to move Planning Commission Order 2023-21 with conditions approving conditional use permit CUP 23-0013 for a vacation rental home at 1025 East Ginger Root Court.
Thank you very much. Now, if commissioners don't have any more questions, if we could have a motion.
I move to adopt Planning Commission Order 2023-21, which approves the requested conditional use permit with the attached conditions of approval in Exhibit B.
I second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Jeff Musall,
Yes.
Jason Dale,
Yes.
Chris Wright,
Yes.
Lainey Quinn,
Yes.
Sharon Capri,
Yes.
Mike Griffiths,
Yes.
Linda Newton Curtis,
Yes.
Avery Hansen.
Yes.
And with that, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. If they're still there.
Okay, now moving on. Next item up is another quasi-judicial public hearing. This one is for CUP 23-0012 to prove vacation rental approval at 509 North Grant Street. This time I'd like to ask for any abstentions, ex parte contact, conflicts of interest, or objections to jurisdiction.
This is Linda Newton Curtis. This property is across from a rental property that I own, but I won't let that bias my decision in any way.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so right now, if we go ahead and have the statement read, Avery.
ORS 197.797 requires certain statements to be made at the commencement of a public hearing. The applicable city and state zoning criteria must be listed. This means that we must advise you of the standards that must be satisfied by the applicant prior to our approval or denial of an application. The planning staff will list the applicable criteria during his or her presentation of the staff report. Persons wishing to participate in this hearing must direct their testimony or the evidence towards the criteria stated by the planner or other specific city or state criteria which you believe apply. You must tell us why the testimony or evidence relates to the criteria. Any issue which might be raised in an appeal of this case to the Land Use Board of Appeals, LUBA, must be raised in person or by letter at the local level prior to the city approving or denying the application. The law states that the issue must be raised in enough detail to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond. This part of the law is known as the raise it or waive it requirement. If you do not bring it up now, you can't bring it up at LUBA. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval in enough detail to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Prior to the conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing on an application, any participant might request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony regarding the application. The Planning Commission will grant such a request through a continuance or extension of the record.
Thank you, and we'll move on over for staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is James Dingle. I'm the other assistant planner with the city, and tonight we'll be looking at CUP 23-0012. When I entered the staff report and supplement, and there aren't supplemental materials for this one into the record. So the owners for this and applicant for this application are Gabriel and Charlotte Luthen. They're requesting a conditional use permit to turn an existing 4-bedroom single-family dwelling into a vacation rental at 509 North Grant Street in the R2 medium density residential zone. And the applicable criteria are 15.225.060, the conditional use permit criteria, and 15.445, 300 through 350 for vacation rental homes. The submitted application materials initially requested approval for a 6-bedroom vacation rental home. However, the city's building permit and Yamhill County assessor data indicated that the house has 4 bedrooms, and so the applicant decided to pursue the conditional use permit with only 4 bedrooms. So here we can see the property's frontage on North Grant Street and the aerial of the tax lot and the surrounding neighborhood. The property is zoned R2 medium density residential with some M2 light industrial to the south and RP residential professional to the northeast. The adjacent land uses of the subject property are all single-family residential. The city's utility map shows that the house is connected to the major water and sewer lines running along North Grant Street, providing service to the dwelling, and there aren't any stormwater facilities directly adjacent to the property, the nearest being located in West Franklin Street and North Main Street. Turning to the code, we'll start with the development standards for a conditional use permit found in chapter 15.225, section 60. Subsection A requiring that the location, size, design, and operating characteristics are reasonably compatible with the surrounding neighborhood and will have a minimal impact on the ability or appropriate development of abutting properties. The proposed vacation rental home is located in an existing single-family dwelling with 4 bedrooms, 2 parking spaces located in the driveway and garage, and the use is compatible with other residential uses as it is similar in size and scope to regular rented or owned dwellings. Subsection B, maybe. Requires that the location, design, and site planning of the proposed development provide a convenient and functional living, working, shopping, or civic environment, and will be as attractive as the nature of the use and location and setting warrants. The downtown central commercial district is located approximately 0.15 miles south of the subject property, and the proposed use is similar in size and scope to a longer-term rental, longer than 30 days, for owner-occupied dwellings. Next slide. Finally, subsection C requires that the development be consistent with the code. The use is compatible with other residential uses as it is similar in size and scope to regularly rented or owned dwellings and meets the special use standards for vacation rental homes, which we will discuss next. So chapter 15.445, section 300 addresses the special use standards for vacation rental homes. Subsection 310 indicating where vacation rental homes are permitted and requiring that there be in a structure approved for occupancy as a single-family dwelling. Per chapter 15.305, vacation rental homes are a conditional use in the R2 zone, the permit of which has been submitted with the application, and the dwelling unit is an existing single-family dwelling. Subsection 320 requires the owner to register with the city and pay the required transient lodging tax, which the applicant has acknowledged in their application and is listed as a condition of approval. The standards for vacation rental homes are found in subsection 330. 2 parking spaces required. This will be provided in the driveway and garage. Occupancy is limited to 2 guests per bedroom, so a maximum of 8 for this rental. Weekly waste collection is required and being provided, and occupied RVs, tents, or other temporary shelters are not permitted during the rental occupancy. The applicant acknowledges these requirements, and the criteria are met with adherence to their corresponding conditions of approval. Finally, subsection 340 requires posting in the vacation rental, including owner and management company contact information, police contact information, the city's vacation rental standards, maximum occupancy, and the weekly garbage pickup day, which the owner acknowledged and will be in conditions. So in conclusion, Staff is recommending the commission move to adopt Planning Commission Order 2023-20 with conditions approving a conditional use permit CUP 23-0012 for a vacation rental home at 509 North Grant Street, Yamhill County, tax lot R3218 DC 07501.
All right, thank you. So now we'll move to public testimony, and the applicant will have 15 minutes to speak, and then anyone wanting to speak after that will be limited to 5 minutes. If you do speak, come up to the podium, state your name for the record, and just push the button in the middle of the microphone to speak. So now I'd like to invite the applicant up.
Sorry, I was a little early on that. I'm glad to be here for the first time. Last time I was remote, and it's a very different experience. So glad to be here in person. I don't know if it matters, but it said 6 occupants, and I think it was supposed to be 8 as we were reading through that. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Gabriel Lauthen. I went to George Fox and went to Dayton High School. So I've lived in the area for a long time. Recently moved out to be closer to family, as I have 4 little boys. And so bringing them around grandparents has been a goal of mine and my wife's. So that's why we left the area a few years ago, but kept this home. And my wife loves this home, so we decided to turn it into a short-term rental, which for me and my family has been a great blend where my wife loves to stage the property and connect with guests as they come in and out of the home. So I think that's all I've got to say. I just wanted to introduce myself and say thank you.
Any questions?
Chris,
Hi, I wanted to say that I live in the neighborhood, but I'm fine. I don't have any prejudice against those. Did you say that your wife likes to be there to stage it and talk with the guests as they come in?
Unfortunately, we can't actually talk with the guests right now as far as like being there in person. We often take all of our 4 boys to the house for a few weeks to a month to stage the property and really set it up. And so we have just kind of turned that into a family activity where we bring them along.
I'm familiar with the house. You did a really good job fixing it up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chris Wright has a question from Zoom. She was curious if you have a local contact for emergencies.
Yeah, we have a couple local contacts that we've used in the past.
You mentioned you had been here before virtually. Have you done other vacation rentals that you've done, or?
Yeah, there's one other that we have. I have a separate partner that's not related to me and my wife across town on 3rd Street. Completely different property, but also single family residence. Yeah.
Thank you.
And just one for me. You said initially that it was listed like for 6-bedroom. Were there just some rooms that you converted over, and then you're going to apply for just the 4-bedroom usage? Is that correct?
No, I was just pointing out that in the presentation it said 6 bedrooms, and I think it was mentioned that it was 8 bedrooms. Sorry, not 8 bedrooms, 6 guests, but it's actually 8 guests.
And that's what we have correctly, like 4-bedroom, 8 guests.
There was some confusion as far as the permit, just like submitting the application in terms of some non-conforming bedrooms that we'd included in the initial application and changed that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Oh, yeah. So you mentioned that you had a couple of contacts that live locally. Are they, is this a professional organization or agency that you've contracted to oversee anything that goes wrong in the home?
That's an interesting question. No, they're not a professional agency. We have a couple cleaners that we regularly connect with that are able and willing to go to the home when needed, as well as a separate contact that has been kind of an odd jobs person who I think has been there within an hour before.
So are you living close by, or are you out of town?
Currently, we live out of state.
I see.
Yeah. we were in town for another reason, and so I would rather be here in person, so I made it happen.
Yeah. Which state are you in?
Idaho is where my family moved.
Oh.
Yeah.
Chris Wright on Zoom again asked if you are thinking about looking or using a management company.
No, my wife and I manage multiple properties, not just in the Newberg area. We help manage some properties in McMinnville for another couple who own properties and need help managing them. So as well as closer to where we currently live in Idaho.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you for coming up. And I don't see anyone in opposition on this one. So if there's no opposition and no need for a rebuttal, I'll go ahead and close the public testimony portion and ask staff for a final recommendation.
So the final recommendation would still be to move to adopt Planning Commission Order 2023-20 with conditions approving the conditional use permit CUP 23-0012 for a vacation rental home at 509 North Grand Street, Yamhill County Tax Lot R3218 DC 07501.
Thank you, and we'll move over to Commissioner deliberation, if anyone has anything.
Commissioner Quinn, I move that we adopt Commissioning Order 2023-20, which approves the requested conditional use permit for the attached conditions approval Exhibit E.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Avery Hansen,
Yes.
Linda Newton Curtis,
Yes.
Mike Griffiths,
Yes.
Sharon Capri,
Yes.
Lainey Quinn,
Yes.
Chris Wright, oh yes, she said yes. Jason Dale,
Yes.
Jeff Musaw.
Yes. And with that, the motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on. The next up is another conditional use permit. This one is CUP 23-0014 at 3841 North Shelley Court. And it's for conditional use permit to use the dwelling as a vacation rental home. So I'd like to go ahead and ask for abstentions, ex parte contact, conflicts of interest, or objections to jurisdiction. Hearing none, Avery, if you go ahead and read the language.
ORS 197.797 requires certain statements be made at the commencement of a public hearing. The applicable city and state zoning criteria must be listed. This means that we must advise you of the standards that must be satisfied by the applicant prior to our approval or denial of an application. The planning staff will list the applicable criteria during his or her presentation of the staff report. Persons wishing to participate in this hearing must direct their testimony or the evidence towards the criteria stated by the planner or other specific city or state criteria which you believe apply. You must tell us why the testimony or evidence relates to the criteria. Any issue which might be raised in an appeal of this case to the Land Use Board of Appeals, LUBA, must be raised in person or by letter at the local level prior to the city approving or denying the application. The law states that the issue must be raised in enough detail to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond. This part of the law is known as the raise it or waive it requirement. If you do not bring it up now, you can't bring it up at LUBA. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval in enough detail to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Prior to the conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing on an application, any participant might request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony regarding the application. The Planning Commission will grant such a request through a continuance or extension of the record.
Thank you. So we'll go over to staff report.
All right, so now we will go through the staff report and findings for a conditional use permit for a vacation rental home at 3841 North Shelley Court. and I'll enter the staff report and supplemental materials into the record. The applicant for this request is Julie Foster Giffen, and the owners are Dave and Ellen Hendry. They're requesting to convert a 3-bedroom single-family home on an approximately 8,200 square foot lot on North Shirley Court into a vacation rental home. The submitted application materials for this application also initially requested approval for a 4-bedroom vacation rental home. However, Yamhill County Assessor records indicated the house has 3 bedrooms, and the applicant has decided to proceed as a 3-bedroom vacation rental home. The zoning for the subject property is R1 low density residential, and the applicable code sections for review of the request are found in 15.225.060 and 15.445, 300, 350, relating to conditional use permits and vacation rental special use standards. 2 supplemental packets were issued for this land use application, one with 3 written comments received after the publications of your initial packets, and one today with a revised staff report and exhibits following the adjustment to the requested number of bedrooms.